right. Welcome, everyone, to week 11 of Haibo Does Data, SmashUp's metrics review. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Owen. How's everything going?
You know what? It's a Wednesday evening. We've got all the data in there for this week. I'm ready to roll.
Awesome. Yeah, so one of the nice things about doing these on Wednesday is the new week is open. So we're going to give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a behind the scenes today. We'll kind of get to that in a little bit. But first, let's jump right into it. Owen's five things of the week.
All right. Well, I think everyone knows what number one is going to be. The 72 Dolphins have popped the champagne bottle. The Chiefs fall to the Bills. Let's be honest, though, we're going to see that matchup again. I fully expect. Number two, NFC North still pretty dominant, but the NFC West is now the only division with all teams at 500 or better. So, thanks to a Cardinals four-game winning streak and the Bears four-game losing streak, the NFC North now does have a team under 500. I'm going to dedicate these next three to individual performances. Number three, Anthony Richardson, Colts victory, two rushing touchdowns, one through the air. That one at the end of the game was amazing. So good for him. I think that's a smart decision instead of Flacco getting Richardson out there. Just let the guy get reps. Number four, Bo Nix. Good
Oh,
grief.
next.
Put on
Yeah.
a clinic, 307 yards, but listen to this, 28 of 33 passing, four touchdowns, pretty amazing. I think while big Jaden fan, Bo Nix, I think is starting to separate himself this year as the best rookie quarterback. Number five, I sincerely hope somebody out there played my Taysom Hill cheat code last week. Drop him in the quarterback slot, put scramble spikes. What do you have? 120 yards, three touchdowns rushing. And just for everyone out there, I'm not talking about the Eagles Commanders game. I don't believe that happened, so we're not going to discuss
Um, yeah, I
it.
mean,
Oh,
um,
it's so frustrating. It's just 2 weeks in a row against the Steelers and the Eagles. Just fourth quarter, it's kind of that rookie quarterback.
mhm.
The Commanders, a team that has not won in a long time. They just don't have that in them, and they're kind of showing it at the end of the games.
Well, you guys have a get right game this week.
Gosh, I hope
Um,
so. Boy, but that's again, just like I said a couple weeks ago when the Falcons went down to the Saints and the Saints beat them. This is the same thing I worry about. Cowboys come in, big rivalry game. You just don't know what's going to happen. I sure hope I know what's going to happen, but we'll see.
I don't know. I Cooper Rush just not
Yeah,
seem to
it's
be
true.
it, and
It feels right, but
any thought like, why do you think they're not playing Trey Lance?
I don't know. It's just one of those things like he's been traded enough. There's something that the coaches see in practice that they don't like, right? The 49ers,
Mhm.
they thought they were big on him and then they found Purdy and they moved on. Something's going on. I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's weird.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I mean the big news the last couple of days, Jets firing their coach, whispers about trying to bench Aaron Rodgers. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I Yeah, it's not Rodgers. I mean, with Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, you've got weapons there.
mhm.
I'd make the change, but I was also the guy that said I'd keep Justin Fields in and look at what Russell Wilson is doing. Hey, mark my words, we're going to see Justin Fields again. Maybe it's in the playoffs, and he's going to save the day. I promise.
Let's go and take a look at some of the metrics for the week. Um, yeah, for again, I imagine everybody playing is certainly on the already playing Smash Up. But if you're not, go and sign up. And remember to set your lineups. We are live for the week. Let's take a look at Week 11's top played players. Um, I don't know. I mean, nothing. You see a
No.
lot of the kind of usual suspects there. Nothing too crazy. Anything kind of jump out at you?
It's nice to see McCaffrey just healthy again and leading the way. I mean, that's not a surprise. I think the biggest thing that jumped out is a lot of the kind of lower priced wide receivers with Tillman and then Jennings getting those guys up there with Jamar and Pickens and Amon-Ra, but no, I mean, I will say the other note I'd kind of made about this was Herbert and Wilson over there on the QB. So again, Herbert was a pretty low priced option and had a strong game. And again, Wilson more of a game manager, so was kind of surprised to see him out there.
Hmm. Um, and then certainly on the defense side, I mean, there were two. I feel like so this is interesting because earlier on the season, do you remember there were a couple games, especially the first couple weeks, where we felt like, hey, these are gimme games
Yeah,
for teams, and it totally did not go that way.
yeah.
This week we saw two clear kind of gimme games, if you will. Houston
Hmm.
against Dallas, and then Detroit against the against Jacksonville, and
Kind
both
of
of them
scripted. Yep.
we're going to come back to Detroit. We're going to see a lot of Detroit
Yeah. Nice.
here, but
I don't see a lot of Denver over there. Not many folks playing the Broncos against Atlanta, but geez, held them to 6.
yeah, yeah. Denver is I feel like they're
They're-
flying under the radar
They
a
sure
bit,
are.
but they are a legitimate team.
Agree.
um, Week 11, most played cards. Again, you see Run CMC there at the top. I always like to have my weekly Run CMC stat. Three players did hit this week, including Saquon Barkley. For the first time,
Yeah.
Saquon
Fourth-
Barkley
Thanks to
finally
his fourth
hit
quarter.
fourth quarter. Yep. Only need,
Yeah,
can bang your head against the wall 20 times a game, but you only need, one or two to
that's right.
break
That's
it
exactly
open.
right.
But Saquon finally got his run CMC. Mixon was the other one, and Chase Brown, I think, was the third one.
Oh wow. Yeah. He
Um,
had a great game. That was a pretty exciting game too. The Chargers Bengals. I like that one.
mhm. um, and then in terms of kind of most played combos,
Yeah.
we definitely see, well, you see McCaffrey back in there.
Yeah.
McCaffrey finally kind of, jumping back in. But we see that Jacksonville and Detroit defense. Um, Everyone thought that Jacksonville was just going to get destroyed. I mean, the 93 people that played burnt ends with Jacksonville, you hit it.
Yeah. Sure did.
You hit it. And then certainly kind of the Detroit defense there.
I love
Uh,
the reverse strategy. I just think that's fun to kind of root against something bad to happen. I love the goldfish man, just some of those things where you kind of are like, yeah, let's reward the double doinks. Let's get something bad happens. I'll capitalize on it. I am curious, Haibo. So roll of the dice. I'm always wondering, it feels like that takes some time to get updated. Is there any real-time data on player snap count that you can kind of see, or does that take a while to kind of populate?
so it usually takes a while.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
usually
I haven't
takes
been
a
able to
while.
find it. I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
where can I find that snap count? Did my guy, was he at 29 snaps or 31? It's always such a, I don't know, wait and see kind of thing.
Yeah, so we get that data from our data provider, and they're the same data provider that feeds ESPN and some of the other
Hmm.
kind of major fantasy sites. Um, I don't know if ESPN actually shows it.
Yeah.
Football Reference probably does somewhere. I'm not sure.
It's always like the day or two after, though. So it just
Hmm.
doesn't, hey, if anyone finds that real time, I'd love to see, even if it's like 20 minutes after the game ends. I love the roll of the dice card. I play it a lot, and it's always like, is this going to hit or not?
Yeah. And I will say, like, so for next season, one of the big things I think that we're gonna, I mean, don't hold me to this, but one of the big things we're gonna be, I think, implementing this off season, is incorporating some of the play-by-play data.
Oh, love
So
that.
once we
Okay.
have that in, we're gonna start being able to do some crazy new cards that come in,
Love it.
red zone cards, garbage time cards, we had a great card that we had to cut this year because we didn't have the play-by-play data. It was basically like the garbage king. And basically if you play it on their player, their score for the game is whatever they do in the fourth quarter times four.
Oh,
So
wow.
that
Yeah.
was like was it Dak? Or Dak used to have
Oh, yeah. Yep.
200 yards, two touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That means for the game, he has like an 800 yard, eight touchdown like throwing
Yeah.
performance.
Well, let's just you're going to be held to it now. This we that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I was very sad we weren't able to get that in, but hopefully next year.
That's great. That's great.
I mean, speaking of kind of Detroit, Jacksonville, I thought it was, let's switch over and just take a look at the scoreboard. Dark Lotus, 261. That's probably one of the highest scoring lineups we've seen all season. And
That username sounds familiar. Have they won before? Did they win with this lineup like 5 weeks ago or something?
they have, I don't think so
Okay,
this
I just
season.
it sounds familiar, but wow, yeah, there it is.
Eight of the nine. No, seven of the nine. They also hit on Smith, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah, Smith and Jennings. I mean, what a lineup.
yeah. And then just Detroit all the way down. And that was not that that was not uncommon. If we look at the top 50, right? Most played players in the top 50,
Hmm.
Bates, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Goff, like the defense, Gibbs, like basically it was Detroit. Like
Yep.
if
Then
you
they
hit on
stacked
Detroit,
ride or die and home.
hmm ride or die, paired with home field advantage, they were playing at home. That was a huge combo that we saw. Um, Pairing, ride or die with that home field advantage. And oh man, just four passing touchdowns, three on the ground. It was it was quite a game.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Question for
412 yards. Jeez.
412 yards, yeah. Passing. I mean, that does I I don't even know how many yards they had as a team because they had 450 through the air. Like even just eyeballing this on the ground, they had another maybe 200. They had like 650 yards.
That's amazing.
That's crazy. Um, it actually brings me to kind of an interesting thought experiment. Before I do you remember when we talked to Benny like week
Hmm.
three or kind
Yeah.
of week four?
Yep.
So Benny and I've known Benny, all the way back since college. And there was one year that Benny and I, just on our own, ran a experiment that was like, what if you had a traditional fantasy league where you could only draft one team? Um, and is there ever a situation where that kind of strategy could actually win you in like a normal league?
Hmm.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Lions, I feel like they could possibly do it this year, but it seems tough to me. It does not seem like it's possible, but
So this was based off of what do you think is if you had to pick one team through history
hmm.
that this would work for, um, let's call it a traditional 12-person snake draft,
Yeah.
and you could only draft one team. Um, do you think there's any team that this would potentially work for?
I'm trying to think of teams that have three really strong receivers and then the two running back model, like to where you could have that. I keep thinking about like LaDainian Tomlinson. I keep trying to go back to like that era, but man, I don't know. You got me. I can't come up with someone off the top of my head that it would work for. Colts and Edgerrin James. I mean, I'm just trying to think of anyone that did. I don't know. You got me, Haibo. I'm stumped.
So the 2013
Okay.
Peyton Manning led Denver Broncos.
Okay, Denver. I did at least get to Manning. So what do they have there?
They had,
Yeah,
Manning threw
monster.
for over 5,000 yards, 55 touchdowns. So because this was 16 games, right? So that means he was throwing 3 to 4 passing touchdowns. He was
Mhm.
averaging 3 to 4 passing touchdowns a game. And then you had, on average, one through the ground. Ball and Moreno, and then yeah, the Thomas and
Yeah.
Thomas, Decker, Welker at the flex. Like this was, I remember that year. Demarius Thomas, I remember was a solid. Like he was a first
Yep.
round. Like you could take Demarius Thomas in round one, maybe on the swing back, take Moreno in round two, Manning in round three, pick up Julius in round four, and then everybody else should still be available.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
but
guessing I'm guessing you have a hard time during the bye week.
yeah, yes, you would
You're not
lose the
running the
bye week.
table though.
You are not running the table, and you end up losing week 15 regular season game. But in
Yeah.
fantasy land, right? This is a round one or round two of your playoffs,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they get beat by the Chargers.
They lay
The
a
only
clunker.
person who had an actual like decent stat line was Andre Caldwell, which no one would have played, and
Nope.
you would have just gotten annihilated.
Yep.
So it's always the downside, right? Like, you have that 1 week, but
That's fun.
um and we definitely saw that. I mean, getting back to this week,
Yeah.
if we look at the top 10, eight of the top 10 basically played all lines. Or
These are some big scores too, and it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. Um so definitely, definitely a powerful combo. The main ones we saw, as we said, home field advantage, ride or die. Um, it's nice that both, I mean, ride or die for sure, but the Lions were playing at home, so you had that kind of extra bonus. And this week, again, this is a very, very risky strategy, right? It's almost like a perfect storm of things kind of
Yep.
happening with the Lions last week. But if you were to, take a look at the slate of games for this week, any picks on your end? Like if you were to say, I'm just going to try to take as many fantasy relevant players as possible and play these two cards together. Any any potential
Yeah. I
picks?
mean, I think you could probably look at the Commanders and Cowboys like you kind of touched on earlier. And you have to think about it from teams that have enough players. I think the Seahawks are a team that's at home this week that have that kind of like, Kenny Walker and then Charbonnet, and you've got stuff like that could potentially work. I don't know that it feels like a slam dunk week. The Dolphins against Patriots, maybe the Dolphins do something, but I know Hill's not been himself. So I don't know. Anyone that you're looking at?
Um, I think the Commanders game. Like if I had, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I don't think there is a slam dunk this week. If I had to pick one, I feel like the Commanders are a good team.
Yep.
They are frustrated with the last 2 weeks, and they have somebody that they can take it out on.
I think
Um,
the tough part about them is I think you're good on running backs, right? You can do Robinson Jr. and you can do Eckler. And of course, you got Daniels and you got McLaren and Ertz is nice at tight end. But I think you'd be better off almost picking another home receiver or two. You've got like Noah Brown and there's some secondary guys, but I just feel like there's better options at your flex and that second receiver. So, just like you saw with the Jonnu Smith and Juwan Jennings, you don't go full stack. You find some other home players that you really like in those scenarios there.
mhm.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
you're right. I think the Commanders could be a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and let's take a look at single player
Yes.
for last week. Um, finally,
Goodness, good.
Deadeye goes down.
And just
Um,
again for everyone, they did not let me set it as I offered to do. This would have been the outcome had I said it, but it was not me.
um, 3 straight weeks of Deadeye being almost impossible to beat, and finally, the fantasy football variants
Yep.
got to
Got
them,
it.
and we are going to see a lot of people coming into Smash Mouth this week and playing against Fitz. So That will be interesting. So we'll see kind of a big group here. And then hopefully, next week we'll see more going up against Scott Fish as well as kind of West Coast. So I think over the next couple of weeks, Owen, we'll probably end up talking a little bit more about these two guys
Yeah.
as kind of the bulk of the players move through those bosses. But with 14 people beating West Coast, that means boss number five is now on the table. Boss number five, roulette. Um,
I already
he's the
like the
gambler.
sound of risk it for the biscuit. I already like that.
He's the gambler. He's the gambler. Takes bets. Lady Luck always seems to smile on the gambler. Um, I'm always a big fan of just upping variance.
Yeah.
I think it's a good strategy. It makes playing fantasy fun. And you know, he has a card that really rewards you for this. So risk it for the biscuit. Receive 20 points for each of the following: quarterback with pass over 50 yards, running back with a run over 30 yards, and any receiver or tight end with a catch over 40 yards. These
Wow.
might seem familiar because this
Yep.
is Hail Mary, Freight Train, and Speed Demon, except applied to every single position and 20 points instead of 30 points. But this card, could be massive
Yeah,
if
this
you
is
hit it.
crazy. Can I ask one thing? So let's
Mhm.
say if Jaden Daniels runs for 31 yards, does he get a 20 point or is it and same thing if Jahmyr Gibbs catches a pass for 41 yards, do they get credit or is it are they not eligible for those?
Yeah, so the way this is set up, they would not be eligible.
Okay.
They have
Yeah.
to hit whatever their position
Yep. Okay.
tends to be. So I know last week, I think you do have running backs that, will have some of these longer catches, catch and runs that go for, 50, 60 yards. But here it has to be what's deemed a rushing attempt.
Yep. No, that's fair. It does mirror the cards like you said. That's great.
So who is going to be the boss? Who is going to be setting roulette and taking on those players? It
I
is.
couldn't even guess.
It's me and you.
Well, I got to say that's a letdown after a couple of great weeks, but you know what? Let's see what we can do here.
Let's do it. So, special treat for everyone watching. You're going to watch us set the lineup now. So, you get a little inside scoop, inside edge. Um, Owen, let's set the lineup now for roulette for the week. And let's
Yeah.
think about how we want to optimize, this. We basically have 7 spots that we can potentially get these 20 points on. So set let's go set roulette.
Yeah. This is going to be great.
All right. I will let you go first. Which
Let's
position or
look.
strategy do you want to go for?
Let's start running back if you don't mind.
Hmm.
And what I like, I don't know if we stack them and we do anything with because we still get our cards too. I don't know if we do anything
Yep.
tricky yet, but I like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Both of them have over 7 30-yard or more rush attempts. So again, we might pull someone out, but if I'm putting my money on someone to get a 30 plus, it's these two guys.
All right. Let's shift to, one of the very popular um Hail Mary Speed Demon combos is you want to stack receiver quarterback, right? If your receiver goes for, if your quarterback makes a 50-yard throw, your receiver has to catch that 50-yard throw. So um, I
Look, we
don't think,
talked about him earlier. Can I lead us in a direction? You're one
yeah,
you're one over who I would take.
yeah,
Going against the Cowboys, I like Jaden at quarterback and Terry McLaurin at receiver. Terry's had over 4 catches for 40 yards or more.
right. So Jaden, Terry, Saquon, Derrick Henry. Um,
This might
we're
surprise you, Haibo.
mhm.
So Jamar Chase, Jaden Reed, both of those are the leaders, 6 and 5 respectively over 40-yard catches. You know who's tied with Jaden Reed?
No,
Alec Pierce from Indianapolis. So again, not let's save a little bit of money, but let's see if he gets it. Again, I think that's kind of like this the strategy. We're taking a swing for the fence. He could get us 0 points or he could get us 20 just for on one catch.
absolutely. Um, that is a great pick. Um, what do we have at tight end?
What if we jump to our kicker and our defense just to see what we have left? Like in
But
my head, I'm thinking someone like Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's kind of the more receivery type, but let's see what money we have left.
so let's start with defense because it's a little bit more um there's a little bit more variability here. We are pretty tight on budget.
Yeah.
So if there's something that we can look at on the lower end that would help us out, um,
I could see the Cleveland Steelers game tomorrow being a little bit low scoring, but Wilson's been managing the game. I don't know if I feel confident in it. Hmm. Look, I could also be talked out of our top running backs. There's some other options that we could do that could yield some pretty good returns if we run out of money here.
well, well, money aside, which defenses would you take?
I mean, I think we've been talking about the Commanders all night.
Yeah,
So
I think so too. So if we go with the Commanders here, kickers more or less are all the same price.
yeah,
So, um, you know, I think Aubrey is just a great kicker. I think
yeah,
it's
put them on
just
there. I mean, I think that's a fair one. I mean, they're going to score points. It is a little counterintuitive to take you be rooting for points against our defense, but again, on defense, you mainly want the sacks, the turnovers, things like that. Points are kind of what they are.
hmm. Um, so we have about 9,000 left. Um, down here, like if we were talking, if you
I,
go with I mean, you have Ertz, you have Isaiah Likely. Likely is one of those like you never know, right? Like
he's
two
had two
catches.
two catches over 40 yards. So
Yeah.
let's plug him in. I certainly don't mind that at all.
So now we have 5,300 at the flex. So we are somewhere in this range. I mean,
Oh,
Waddle,
yeah,
Pittman.
I'd say Waddle kind of unprompted.
Yeah. Yep.
And let's just see what Waddle has here on my handy dandy. I'm using Fantasy Pros right now under their advanced wide receiver stats. And Waddle, he only has one catch over 40 yards.
But he also hasn't had Tua
That's right.
for
That's very fair. Yep.
yeah, you know, Tyreek, same thing. Like they just lost so many games in the middle there.
Yeah.
Um, but he has the talent and Tua certainly, uh it's a it's an option there.
I like this, and I think there's going to be some good Monday night fun. Now let's ask, just so no one feels like we've cheated. I know we'll do the cards here. If someone's ruled out or something happens, are we allowed to change it, or is this it? We're locked and loaded.
Oh no, no, we can change up
Okay.
until, if something happens,
Okay.
certainly we can update. But as a
Okay.
first go, I like where we are.
All right. And then let's think. Are we going to be risking it? Are we staying here and taking more swings, or are we going to sort of have some have some safer plays with our cards? What are you thinking? Like, do we double stack? Do we just go all in and say we're doing Hail Mary, we're doing Speed Demon, and just really say we're going to put this out of reach, or everyone's going to beat us?
So so here's the thing, right? I think for me personally, I would definitely be going with like, let's take some point. Like we know, some of these guys are going to put up points. Let's be safer here because we have, you know, we have the risk it for the biscuit, for the
Yeah.
biscuit for that. I would be safer here. But
Let's
if I
go
was the
defense.
coach,
Yeah,
that's kind of like if I was to take on the persona of the coach, I would just go all out and just just throw the other stuff on there. I don't know. What do you think?
let's go defense. Let's give Washington defense wins championships. I think that feels good out of the gate.
Okay.
Um, any other defense you want to put on there, or do you want to take some swings now? I'd love to use a negative card almost. Could we do a double doink, or could we do something kind of fun?
Yeah, let's do double joink. I mean, Aubrey missed one last week. Um,
Yeah, and
he,
there we go. We do a double doink, and that helps us out because hey, now we got the defense. Let's get something fun in there. All right, what do we have left?
I
6,500.
I kind of want to do like when we talk about, this card more or less simulates, your Hail Mary, right? Freight Train and Speed Demon. I'd like to
Yep.
throw another 30 or nothing in there with Mr. Relevant.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
like if we think,
We
if
know he's
we
getting the 20 rushing yards. The 250 is a little scary if they just put it away, but let's do it.
let's do Mr. Relevant on Daniels. And this leaves us with 2,500 left. Uh, oh boy. Run CMC.
Why not?
Run
Saquon back to
CMC
back.
on
Saquon back to
Saquon.
back. Saw
Oh
that coming a
man.
mile away. How did that work out so perfectly?
This is I could see this I could see this lineup breaking like 300 points.
Yeah,
I could also see this lineup not breaking 100. Like
100%. Yeah, that feels exactly right. I think we're going to get made fun of on the Smash Pod for this, but that's okay. I like it. We're sticking to it. Roulette is going to do all right this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good week. Gonna be a good week. All right. Well, yeah, always a pleasure.
Yeah, this is
We
great.
will definitely, we'll see how it goes. We'll come back next week and either gloat a little bit or, pretend this didn't happen.
That's right. And next week might be Roulette's first week, or maybe we'll be fired and it won't be us next week. We'll see.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks everyone for kind of watching. Again, if you haven't set your lineups yet, please go to SmashUp Sports and set your lineup for week 12. And best of luck this week.
Yep. Fantastic. Good luck, everyone.
All
See you
right,
next week.
have a good one, Owen.
Bye.